spending and delivery services, the services chalo, monitoring spending and delivery. How do you ensure that this is executed with due diligence?
The process of budget allocation already in it, what is embedded is the forecast in how the projects are going to be rolled out. There is an in-year process that is meant to ensure that a quarter, or let me say monthly and quarterly, the administration then does submit to the council subcommittees. And these are committees that are charged with the responsibility of ensuring oversight to as far as spending is concerned, but as well to also ensure that there is an alignment of that spending with the predetermined objectives. This is meant to avoid an in-year strategic drift that come mid-year or end of the year when we have to then report in what is termed an annual report, only to hit a surprise of budget that might not necessarily have responded to what it was actually meant for. So the in-year process is therefore guiding us in ensuring that that oversight mechanism that is set by the council subcommittee hold us accountable, not after 6 months, but every month, just to ensure that at least if there is any risk of a possible strategic drift, then that is arrested and it is addressed right on the spot.
Now, Arlebele Kanya Hore, responsibility the budget, and you find her head of departments one way or the other returns the money without a real reason. Why didn't you spend the money that was budgeted for? I mean, to me, it's like, not far from treason.
The issue of returning the money without a real reason would have been subjected to the very same oversight mechanism that I have just mentioned, because it's definitely not acceptable that we can then return money without real reasons. Reasons then has to be substantiated by what might have been conceived to be impractical or so. Where there are commitments that the callings, then it is for those reasons where there are commitments, even if the actual money has not been spent, but if the legal obligation has been realized, it is then for those reasons that we then have to apply for a rollover, because if a commitment is made, that therefore means that money will then ultimately be spent for what it was meant for. Now, it is definitely never going to be acceptable that money should be returned without real reason, because for us to be able to do so, we should have passed the test that it's said by the council subcommittees that holds management responsible to particularly provide those reasons to make sure that if money is not going to be spent, the reasons that are submitted are adequate and are acceptable.
I just want you to give me, from my 2 cents complaint, give me, 10 cents explanation to this. Because sometimes you find that sports and recreation facilities, you might know them from the report of whoever is handling that to say, Soweto's, recreation and everything, it's tops. Everything is fine. But upon investigation, you find that actually the reports we were getting were not the truth. And half of it, a budget was made. Every time budget came for maintenance of facilities and all that. But you look at the facilities where we are, then you say, hey, but there's monies that were allocated towards that. What happens there?
There are processes that are meant to ensure quality assurance in all the activities that we embark on, which is what then even guides the payments before they are actually made, to make sure that before such payments are made, the quality that is expected as per the contracts that would have been entered into is adhered to. And therefore, if it then happens that we find ourselves in situations of that nature, obviously there must be remedial actions that meant to address that, given the fact that the quality standards should definitely not be compromised. We are expected and endeavor and try by all means to ensure that the quality that has been set as per the service level agreement, it's adhered to ensure that the money that is allocated is spent adequately.
Now, we know for the fact that, problems can rise in any phase of budgeting cycle and can impact on service delivery in different ways. In the city of Johannesburg, have we encountered such?
It does happen that when we pass the original budget, definitely we will start spending that budget from the 1st of July. But we all know that from the 1st of July to December, which marks the half year of the financial year, a lot could happen within the financial, within that 6 months, which might be a shift in the economic environment that to a certain extent may mean whatever we might have had as a focus of our revenue, it might have went either up or down. We are again guided by the legislation, MFMA 28, to do a budget adjustment. And that budget adjustment, it's meant to reprioritize what remains of our financial resources and looking into the 6 months ahead of us. So the budget adjustment process is specifically meant to assist us in adjusting any changes that might have happened within the fiscus. Usually that we do looking into what we might have done up until the end of December. The law says while we do so, that adjustment has to be passed, tabled in council by no later than the 28th of February on any financial year.
Ke itumela jalo gore ke rutlwa ka tlhamallo mogaetso re tsa ka tsebe ga lo ra utlwa go le jalo there was an adjusted budget recently approved by council. What was your role as a chief financial officer after budget approval?
The role of the finance component of the city when it comes to budget adjustment is to look into the shift within the economic environment, to look into the financial resources that we have at our disposal, to ensure that while we had predetermined objectives that were set beginning of the financial year, and to what extent have we spent against those predetermined objectives, what could be remaining behind, and how do we reprioritize what remains within the budget for the coming 6 months. So it is to ensure that the allocation that is to be done within the remainder of the financial year will assist in accelerating projects, will assist in ensuring that projects that might not have been adequately resourced are adequately resourced in the latter 6 months, but as well to look into efficiencies where we can have and to ensure that at least we can be able to accelerate the spend, to accelerate the project, to still maintain the objectives that are set, as we call them, predetermined objectives. We also reckon in so doing, come the end of the financial year, will therefore be reporting on the spend against what it was meant for in your annual report.
Now, the most important thing, how the real importance of local communities to get involved in the budgeting process, and how can they do so, and how best can you simplify the jargons? Oh, jargons.
Thank you, the colleagues. It's where I'm tempted to invite Madam Speaker to talk to that part. It is, again, like I've said, already, a process that starts from the IDP. And that is a process where we will then engage with the community through all sorts of media, through the consultative forums, where we will go and visit. Let me talk before COVID, and then engage with the citizens to also allow citizens to even online send us email to then participate in how they see the whatever policy could be the property rates in how they believe it's going to impact on them. This is what then we take into cognizance when we then say, now this is what can be implementable in the confines of what the economic environment and what the residents experience on the ground. How Colin Sumara, I thought it might also be good for the speaker if she so wish to add on that part.
Mamolele, wa utlwa re anong ba o ka re anong di invoice ba bona ka rota ditsa ko bone latlele ko remane. Madam Speaker, a bit of a take or maybe remark on the issue, yeah, jargons and how to simplify messaging.
Yes, thank you very much, Tate Hans, and my apologies to be late again. And thank you very much, Mr. Manenze, for taking our communities through on the budgeting process. Yes, you are right. In fact, the budgeting process, Tate Hans, starts with what we were discussing the other week, the community-based planning. It begins with CPP, where communities are making inputs in the development of the new IDP, which is going to take 5 years. So then it is the CPP process where we talk to the communities. We could not go to communities physically, as Mr. Manenze is saying, but we have been online, even on this platform, and we have been online doing sessions online with different communities for the past weeks, for the communities to tell us, to ask for us to give feedback to the communities of what has been happening in the past 4.5 years or so, and what are the communities expecting the city to do in the coming 5 years, which is the input that we were sourcing. Then we develop the draft IDP. We take the draft IDP to the communities. Then there's also sessions with the communities on the property rates that, as Mr. Manenje has said, policy. So the community must also input on the property rates policy. And also the communities must understand why the property rates is increasing or why there's a change and everything. So these jargons, CPP is a community-based planning. From community-based planning, it's a property rates policy, then RIAGO integrated development plan. All these things, we do them because we want to plan with the communities. And when it comes to budget, as now we are talking budget, he has explained the difference between adjustment budget and the upcoming budget process that we are now engaging on. We have to come back to the communities and say, out of these things, Enis Kulumile, CPP, IDP, the budget that is allocated will fit for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6. We won't be able to do it in this budget. So I hope I have responded to the question that they answered and clarified the jargons.
And on that note, Mamulele, then you are taking on the baton continua, Utwala Jalo, and streaming with other radio stations. Welcome, and thank you very much, Mamulele Khore. As my co-host, please continue with the show. From our side, we're taking a commercial break.
Thank you very much, Josie FM and the listeners. I also want to inform our viewers that we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitter, and on Facebook, we are also live on Nongaba Mulwele, which is the my Facebook page, and also at
6 to 8 p.m. on Josie FM.
Speaker_COJ on Twitter. Thank you very much, Josie FM. We were live on Josie FM up until now at 7 o'clock. We have also other community radios that are with us. I'm not sure if it was explained at the beginning, but we have Chai FM, we have Eastwave FM, We have Radio Islam on board, and we are very grateful to have you on board. We know that Chai FM will stream the show tomorrow morning between 9 and 10. Now, Mr. Manenze, I just want you to take through our communities on the importance for local communities to get involved in the budgeting process. I think in my response as well to Collins, I did indicate the importance that communities should be part of the budgeting process. But I think if they can hear from yourself as the CFO, why is it important for communities to get involved and understand the budget process? And how can communities do that? I think I've already explained that, but why is it important? That the emphasis for the communities to get involved in the process and understand the process. Greetings to you, Dr. Fundi Lenyati.
Greetings, Speaker.
Greetings. Thank you very much, Doc. Yes, Mr. Manenze, over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I want to just use this opportunity to say there is a reason why we are called public servants. It is precisely because ours is to serve, and there's definitely no way we can claim to know what the public needs if we don't put our ear on the ground. The risk we run is that of having a budget that would have been what we thought is good for the community without the community itself expressing themselves on that regard. Now, the consultative process, that it is a constitutional right of every citizen to participate, to be heard. It is for those reasons that we are here, and we, like you have said, with the community-based planning processes that are there, to afford this community to direct us in how the budget should talk to their need. It is for those reasons that I said earlier on that the budget should make it possible for the integrated demand plan to be implemented. It is for those reasons, again, that I again say the IDP informs the budget than the budget informing the IDP. So it is honestly and very important then for the community to then participate in this process from inception until the integrated demand plan is out there, as well even the policies that are budget-related policies, as and when invitations are out there for that contribution. Because it is for those reasons that we can be able to reflect with what the community wants to see in their budget. Again, let me say, Madam Speaker, be that as it may, it is not our budget, it is the budget of the people, and it is only through consulting with the people that we can be able to be relevant and align our purpose of existence with what it seeks to improve the quality of their lives. We run a risk of being irrelevant if they don't participate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Mr. Manenze. Indeed, it is the people's budget. Maybe before I open up for the residents and the viewers to comment, if you could just indicate what have the challenges been around the budgeting? If there were any challenges, or you do come across challenges year in and year out as you are preparing for this important process, which we are going to pass in few months to come.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. A budget process is a balancing exercise where the needs of the residents also and taking into consideration the financial resources at our disposal to ensure that particular balance is not always an easy thing, which is the reason why then it involves a serious sense of prioritization and ensuring that as and when we allocate that budget, again, it is guided by the predetermined objectives. The needs and the resources do not always align. And it is on that reason that we find ourselves to a certain extent, not having sufficient means to cover all that we want to cover in a particular or a one financial year. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Nyati, do you want to come in? And welcome, Charity. I see the budget steering committee team is here, so you didn't come alone. You didn't come alone, Mr. Manenze. I see you came with your team. I see Charity
Indeed.
also. You are most welcome. Doc?
No, I don't really have any inputs at this stage.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Doc. Let's hear from our viewers, Sipho. Comments from our viewers on the budget.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you very much, Dr. Mnenze. Just a question that's coming. The one from Simon who says, please provide a reason why people are not paid in the TRU in Rabi Ridge. Now you guys are good at lies. We met with everyone in the mayoral office. You guys speak and never implement what you state in the public domain. And then Mom Vicky Shipping says, interesting subject. And just another question that I see on another page says, how is it possible that SMMEs are taking so long to be paid by the city of Johannesburg? That's the other one. The last one says, during the statement made by the MMC of Finance was that young people would be allocated nearly 50 million towards youth-owned businesses. And why is it that, or what progress has been made with regards to implementing or using that 50 million allocated towards youth-owned businesses? So that's it from my side for now, Madam. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I will hand over to the team, but I'm not sure if the team will be able to respond here on the why the TRU people, but we'll hear how far do they go. I think Mr. Manenze did indicate that the demand, the needs, and the availability of resources has a difference. I think the thing that we need to do is to come back to the communities and say, out of the list that the communities has given us, this is what the budget could do, and this is how much the budget has been allocated, so that people don't accuse us of being economical with the truth when it comes to budget allocation and budget spending. Dr. Manenze, any response from the comments and questions from the communities?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to do my very best to be a doctor, but I'm at this stage working towards that direction. I'm an accountant.
Oh, yes.
I want
I'm following Sipho.
No, that is a prophecy. I will work hard to get there. I seriously take the issue of paying service providers, suppliers within the legislated period of 30 days very serious, and will rather say where there are any service providers that have not been paid and there are no any queries with regards to those invoices, that should be escalated to finance for us to assist in ensuring that service providers are paid. It is a legislative requirement. More than just complying with the legislative requirement, it is embedded on us to ensure that our systems are astute with the payment of service providers within 30 days, especially given that they are the backbone of our economy, and there's no way that we should delay when it comes to that process. I'm not sure we are able to respond to the issue of Rabi Ridge, Madam Speaker. That may need a subsequent response. And then I will perhaps invite Charity if there is anything she would like to talk to with regards to the allocation of the youth budget and how it's going to be addressed in the year that is in question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Manenze. I was also going to invite Charity on board because I know that we would go, even the MMCs would go in front of the budget panel and request money for this and that and that, and the budget panel would say, no, you can get money for this and that, you can't get money for this and that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
I'm not sure if we can hear Charity. I think she's mute.
Okay, sorry, I don't know what had happened. I think my signal had dropped there for a bit. Just to clarify, Madam Speaker, your request is for me to just talk through some of the intended focuses of this year's adjustment budget and the draft budget. I also picked up a question specifically on the issues of youth. I think the CFO did mention that, you know, it's always a balancing act to ensure that we allocate money in response to what the communities are interested in, but also in taking into account the money that's available. I think in the current year, one of our biggest challenges under the COVID environment is that resources are really stretched. Customers are finding it difficult to pay. Can you hear me, Madam Speaker?
Yes, yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So I was saying customers are under quite a lot of strain at the moment to pay for services, and more than 70% of our resources that we use to provide services come from what we receive from customers, from them paying for services rendered by the city. So it's really been a difficult year with many people having lost their jobs and are struggling to pay. But at the same time, we use those same resources for us to be able to continue to render services to the residents. So it really does become a very difficult balancing act. And I think the point to respond to the point about the youth, the money that was made available within the budget is under what we're calling a youth fund, where through the city's departments, there are various initiatives that are being packaged that will be targeted specifically towards the youth. So it's not necessarily projects where we go and then say, we're giving this money towards this youth project with this group of young people, but it's initiatives that will be packaged through city departments. For example, there were suggestions of training for unemployed youths in road construction, and then for them to get accreditation from the respective SETA, then they can actually carry on doing that work within their communities. So there are various initiatives, and I think as they roll out, the departments will then make those opportunities known to the community so that they can then participate. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much for that explanation, especially the explanation on the non-availability of resources, that it is linked with what the customers or the residents could afford in terms of the payment of services, which speaks to one of the topics that we had on the other day, where we were encouraging communities, those who can still afford, to pay for the services, because the city survives on the payment of services by our communities. Maybe the last question from my side would be then the role of councillors. Why is it important that the councillors as public representatives are part of this process? If it is important, Charity or Mr. Manenze?
Madam Speaker, councillors are the carriers of the voice of the residents. They are there to ensure that they give assurance to the residents that their needs are going to be executed by administration. By so doing, they also hold administration accountable. It is of essence that then, as administration, then we remain aligned with the requirements and the needs of the councillors, because theirs is to represent those voices of the residents. So it is very much important that we also, through the oversight mechanism that is there, being your council subcommittees, are held accountable in a number of submissions that we give. Could it be financial performance within the quarter or monthly, as well against the priorities that are set? It is for those reasons that then councillors are very much important to continue with that oversight.
All right. Thank you very much. It means the implementation of the policies and the implementation of the budget is very important for the residents, and therefore councillors should play the oversight role and hold the executive to account on the commitments that the executive would have made on the budget that is allocated. Thank you very much for that explanation. Support, do we have any other comments before we round off? Do we have any comments from the viewers?
No comments, just people appreciating the conversation, but no real comments coming from that side, Madam Speaker. I think that's it from our side.
All right, thank you very much. May I then get the final word, round-up word from the panelists? Let me start with Charity. Charity, any last word that you would want the communities to hear? Yes.
I think just to appeal to communities to work together with the city, because the city is, the city works better when we all play our part. So we play our part through paying for rates and services. We play our part by taking care of the community assets that are there within our communities, but also just to appeal to communities to participate when we come into their communities and open up the opportunity for them to comment to the budget and the IDP when it's tabled before council at the end of March. When we come to communities in April, just for them to come and have their voice heard, so that we put these documents together with their views in mind and their contribution, given that we are in a participatory democracy, so the views of the community will always be important for us to take into account as we plan. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Charity. And I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of the participation from the communities. I know that the communities would participate in everything except the budget. The interest won't be as much as it would have been if the topic was about something else or the agenda of the day. When you talk about budget, then communities think that, oh no, it's not important. But when you talk about service delivery, or you call a meeting about ESCOM or Joburg Water, and that the communities will come in numbers. I want to also emphasize and echo your sentiments, Charity, that it begins with the budget. So the service delivery is dependent on the budget allocation. So the importance of participation by the communities is really paramount. Mr. Manenze,
Madam
your last
Speaker,
word.
I just want to thank the radio stations. I want to thank Madam Speaker and the residents for their contribution. Again, I want to maintain and emphasize on also what Charity has said. Our relevance is non-existent, Madam Speaker, without the community. So I'm looking forward to further engagement and also to ensure that the contribution by the residents is then encapsulated into our planning process going forward. I just want to say thank you and thank you and thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nyati. Dr. Nyati is our partner in the show. He's our partner on this platform. Every Wednesday, we do community education on this platform, and Dr. Nyati is our partner, is a City of Johannesburg legislature partner, and he's very passionate about community education. So community education on the budget, Doc. The less, the responses today of the comments, I mean, the less comments we are receiving today shows that now people, they are not that much key in terms when it comes to budget. So I think we need to do more community education on the budget process. Doc, over to you.
Yes. No, I think, to many people, the issue of a budget is something that is abstract, and not easy for them to understand. But maybe let me just throw in a question, though, around this matter. With the impact of COVID-19, where more and more people are out of jobs, businesses, small businesses are failing. Now, how is the city factoring that in its upcoming budgeting process? Because one is expecting that there would need to be more write-offs, for certain people who are, I'll call them indigent, or people who have joined the unemployed workforce. So I'm just trying to see whether there is more budgeting for situations like those. Obviously, we would like everybody to pay for the services, but there's also the reality.
Thank you very much for that question, Doc. I will give that question to the Chief Financial Officer, CFO, Mr. Manenze.
Definitely, Doc, we were not spared by the advent of COVID. And then we are aware that the economy that is ahead of us is definitely not the same with the one that precedes us. There is an instrument that we use, which is a financial development plan that seeks to look into what is the economic environment as we then plan ahead to make sure that we take cognizance of the economic growth and the relative unemployment and a host of many things that really could have resulted from COVID. And that is then we then anticipate in terms of our forecast and the like, then we take into cognizance. So it is a very robust, let me say, comprehensive process of ensuring that we don't just plan in tangent, but we respond and our budget talks to what is on the ground.
Yeah. So in simple language, you are foreseeing a situation that collections may be a bit challenging in the year ahead.
We can only be realistic and reflect what we get on the environment without really preempting that, but we need to be very realistic. We were not spared as a city, and we have to respond adequately.
Oh, thank you very much. That was a nice political answer.
From the Chief Financial Officer. Thank you very much, Doc. To our viewers, we are just 5 minutes away from our closing time. I must really thank the CFO. I know that these days he's very busy. He's preparing for the upcoming budget meetings that are coming and all the work of consolidating the IDP. We appreciate that he made time to be here. And Usbongele nago MMC, we thank MMC very much for having let you to come and be part of this session of giving our communities a green light and educating our communities on the budgeting process. Thank you very much to you, Charity. We really appreciate you. But ladies and gentlemen, before I thank everyone, before I thank Doc as well, like what Charity and Mr. Manenze said, that the participation of communities in the formulation and implementation of development plans is important for service delivery and deepening democracy in the city of Johannesburg. So we cannot talk service delivery if we have not participated and understood what is there, what is this. It's like yourself. You cannot go and do shopping if you don't know how much money do you have in your pocket. So this is because participation is key. It's a planning tool that ensures the fulfillment of community needs and interests. I therefore encourage you communities to develop an interest in these processes. Like I said, that there has not been much interest in terms of the budgeting process. So I am urging you to develop interest and strive to understand the process so that you too can hold us accountable in an effective manner. It shouldn't just become a blame game to say we're not fulfilling the needs of the communities and yet you don't even know how much is the budget of the city and how did it come that you have that particular budget. So we are saying together, let us govern this city, but it starts with understanding this. So make a habit of visiting our website if you have the means to get into the website, and the Joburg website is www.joburg.org.za, www.joburg.org.za. Then you will get us there, because there are many informative documents that will help you to understand the city better on this, which includes the budget itself and the budgeting process. And you also have the opportunity to make your inputs in the budgeting process and the budget of the city. So these accessible documents, they range from all our policies, as we have spoken about the policies. I won't be mentioning all the policies, the IDP, the budget, as I said, even the scorecards for about Mr. Manenze, the senior officials of the city. You will get the scorecards there so that you can see that the city has employed capable people, capable officials who are educated in their for their line of duty. So you as communities have access to all this information at your fingertips. So go out there and equip yourself with the knowledge, because as they say, knowledge is power. So before you can hold us accountable, you have to be knowledgeable on how is the city governed and how is the budget of the city is done. So if you don't have access to the to online documents, you can go to the nearest office of the city of Johannesburg, and you will get this information that I'm talking about. So ladies and gentlemen, at this juncture, let me thank the group CFO, Mr. Manenze, of our city, for being here. As I've already thanked you. Thank you very much, Group CFO. We really appreciate you. Thank Charity for being here, and your team from the Group Finance Office. We really appreciate you. Let's carry on educating our communities. This shouldn't be the last time, as you said, that you would want to have more of this. Let's keep on educating our communities. Department of Finance is the department that is not necessarily there on the ground with the communities, unlike the departments that are in charge of water and electricity. Finance is always working with the figures in the office. So the community should know that you are not only working with figures, but you can also do community education and empower our communities. A big thank you to our media partners. Josie FM, thank you so much. Chai FM, Eldos FM, Alex FM, Easwave Radio, and Radio Islam. Thank you very much for your partnership with the City of Johannesburg's legislature. We really appreciate you. The communities, your communities are our communities. Your listeners are our communities. Let us work together to empower our communities. We appreciate your partnership. Thank you to you, Bele, Ibele lethu, Dr. Fundi Lenyati. Siyabonga kakhulu Bele sibamba ngazibini. Thank you very much. You are the reason why our shows run smoothly from the technical point of view, and for making sure that these shows are a success. A big thank you to you, and also a big thank you to all our viewers, all our followers who are tuning in every week. A big thank you to all the support staff from the Office of the Speaker, from the Office of Dr. Fundi Lenyati, from the City of Johannesburg, We really thank you very much. And the office of the CFO today, of the group CFO, thank you very much to your staff as well, CFO, and those who are not here, but they supported you from the background. We really thank you. Thank you to our most important stakeholders, and the reason that this show exists and that it is to all our viewers and all our listeners. Thank you for your comments and inputs during this show. We really appreciate it. And with that said, I want to say this session is officially closed. Keep on following us every Wednesday, 6:30. We are here. Different topics, empowerment, empowerment, empowerment. Knowledge is power. Thank you very much. I nearly said Amandla. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, madam.
So much.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.